Namaskar. What are the Rothschilds up to? If you get a hint of what they are doing, maybe that's something that you should also take. I'm not a stock advisor, so don't take my word for it as gospel truth and start doing things. But I'm just observing something very interesting that the Rothschild family is doing. As you all know, the Crown Council had 11 members, if I remember correctly, and 2 were later added. I'm talking about history spanning multiple hundreds of years. Well, the last 2 entrants, it is believed, are the Rothschilds and the Rockefellers. And together, these people have a 300 club of 300. I think it's called Club of Rome or something like that. You should listen to Major General Rajiv Narayanan. He has a very good handle on this, the deep state or the so-called deep state. I wouldn't say that that is the only deep state. There are many deep states. There may be even deep states in a particular state, such as Tamil Nadu, for example. Who knows? So these are all people that stay in the shadows and operate the levers of power. Okay, so what is it that the Rothschilds are doing that we should all know? I'm going to share a slide deck with you. A request to all of you to please like it. And this is not something that is being done in isolation. Warren Buffett is also doing the same thing, and he has already expressed that the stock market is at this point frothy and that he expects a correction. Therefore, he has offloaded much of his stock and he is in the money. He's waiting, and he's waiting to see whenever the market crashes, he will become greedy and he'll start buying up stock that he thinks is good. That's one strategy. Anyway, is this the same strategy that the Rothschilds are doing? That's what we are going to examine in this. We'll go back to the beginning when this family started and how they became rich and how they intend to become even more rich. Here we go. Why a $20 trillion dynasty is going private. That's going to be our observation. So Mayer Rothschild is considered to be the father of this family that has become enormously wealthy, and it wields enormous amount of influence across the world. It's one of the most famous financial houses and was once part of world's richest families. Now, I'm going to give you a quick guess on how much they are worth, and that itself is mind-boggling. For over 200 years, the Rothschilds shaped global finances, financing wars, industrial revolutions, and creating Europe's first international banking network. In fact, if you see the web series called Mistress right now, I think it's available. You will see the Napoleonic Wars, the Austria-Hungarian Empire, the formation of Italy, Garibaldi, and things like that. All that stuff is woven into this. It's a very interesting series. You'll understand the role of big industrial houses, families that had enormous amount of money, and how they financed wars for various countries, for which once those countries won, they were completely indebted to the Rothschild family. Well, what happened? Mayer had 5 sons, and he set up banking operations across Europe in London, Paris, Vienna, Naples, and Frankfurt. Who were the 5 sons? The 5 sons were Nathan Mayer, James Mayer, Solomon Mayer, Karl Mayer, and Amschel Mayer. And the family has played a key role in financing wars, like I said, industrial revolutions and international trade. You can say that the venture capital community today is the same thing. They also finance these things. So it's not very different, except that these families were much more richer than the others. And the colonialism, the countries that were colonizing also had their ups and downs. So you couldn't really say that they were going to constantly get money. So whenever there was a shortfall, they would go back to families such as the Rothschild for a loan, and then they would pay back big interest on that. And that's how the family kept getting richer and richer. The Rothschild family pioneered international finance and created Europe's first banking network. Since they were all members of the family, right? Brothers trusted brothers. So that's how this thing grew. The Mayer was a very smart man, I must say. They diversified into financial services, real estate, mining, energy, you name it, transportation, media, and wine production. The current holdings span multiple industries, and they operate as closely held corporations. And I'll come to that in just a moment. Notable institutions like the N.M. Rothschild and Sons continue to thrive, managing billions of dollars. So what is their net worth? Some say it is 1 billion, some say it is 20 trillion. I think the reality is somewhere in the middle, but I would be leaning closer to the higher number. They are worth an enormous amount of money, because it is believed that Barack Obama's complete candidacy, right from the time he became a politician running for office, is believed to have been financed by either Rockefeller family or the Rothschild family. And that means that the deep state always knew how to control the presidents in the United States. This is something that is coming out, and more will come out soon. And you'll get convinced as to how smart they really operated. And I think Trump is not part of the deep state, which is why they're trying to do all these scorched earth policies to try and make it harder and harder for him. But I don't know about that. Deep state can be other people also in addition to this. The Crown Council is one such identified deep state. There could be others also doing it. But everybody seems to work towards one purpose, and that is world control. And one world order is a word that has been bandied about quite a bit by the deep state, where they don't want any boundaries. In fact, it is believed, if you remember listening to General Rajiv Narayan and that sit-down interview that I had with him, he told about how Soros has been stopped financing by the Crown Council. So Soros is pretty desperate. He has now come out and he's trying to do every trick in the book to regain the confidence. I don't know why. I mean, he's a wealthy guy on his own. He could have just taken retirement and drove off into the sunset, but I don't know what he's going to do. Certainly he's not coming out in the open anymore. The Rothschild descendants maintain wealth through family corporations and global investments. They also do a lot of marrying within the family that may have some consequences, but at this point of time, I'm not going to go into that. Let us just take a look at what their goal has been, which has been to get wealthier, and how they are trying to do that in this day and age. The family motto is Concordia Integritas Industria, Harmony, Integrity, Industry. And the remarkable success of this family has largely been due to strong interest, cooperation, being entrepreneurs, and the practice of smart business principles. What are the smart business principles? They tend to have interlocking investment. So nobody would want to just run away ahead of the others. To also make sure that the competition is managed in a way. I've talked about this, about the three passive fund management companies in the United States: BlackRock, Vanguard, and there's a company that ends with State Street, if I remember correctly. And they all have interlocking investment. Each has 20% in the other company. Therefore, there is some sort of like a group action that takes place. And the same thing they have tried now, and I'm going to explain to you about what they did. In 2023, they anticipated a significant shift that altered their course of action entirely. The Rothschild family spent about $4 billion to withdraw from the public eye, meaning like wherever they had public companies, they withdrew their investments, or those public companies, they took them private. Why didn't they do that? They observed that there was a global divide between private companies and public companies. The public companies were chasing profits, and the private companies were focused on long term. And that's what they wanted to do. So that's what they ended up doing. The Rothschilds chose to sacrifice short-term visibility for long-term power, but the brilliance lay in their execution. They didn't merely buy privacy, they also partnered with some of the most influential families in Europe, such as Dassault, which is in aviation, Hugo, which is in automotive sector, Wertheimer, Chanel perfume, and Giammaria Giuliani healthcare from Italy. So what they did was they introduced a way in which all these people had skin in the game. And I'll explain to you how they did that. It was a masterclass in strategic planning because it eliminated reporting pressure. Most public companies, they have this pressure that they have to keep reporting better numbers every quarter. And it's impossible to have better numbers every quarter. If you missed your target, then the Wall Street really punished you. The stock tanked. People will be calling for resignations and so on and so forth. So the public companies devised a method. What they would do is they'll give you projections for the quarter and they would beat it by 1 penny. So the Wall Street cannot claim that they didn't perform up to their expectations. In fact, some companies, if I remember correctly, Alphabet, which is the Google's holding company, has also said that we are not going to give you quarterly guidance. And that's a good thing, which means that you won't get the visibility on a quarter-wise thing, and you have to just look at their numbers to decide if they're doing well or not. Be that as it may, this quarter-wise reporting does put an enormous pressure on the CEO and on the company, and they're always chasing profits, sales, and so on. And sometimes this can be adverse to the company's growth because they're always focused on the short term, not looking at the long term. This also gives them a decision to step back a little bit and see what is going to happen. In fact, I told you, Warren Buffett also has done the same thing. He has sold much of his stock, people say, not all, but some of the big stocks, where he expects those to kind of correct in a big way and wait out with cash. And then anyway, money market accounts are now giving about 5% interest. So, he's just going to wait it out until the stocks come down and at a level where he thinks they are cheap. So when are the stocks going to fall? We don't know, but I think that time is very imminent. Maybe in the first quarter of Trump's administration, they might fall. And already you're seeing that the Federal Reserve is not dropping the interest rates as fast as the market expected. And therefore, every time that happens, the stock market is falling a little bit. It's still a bit frothy, in my opinion. We'll have to wait and see. But what happens here is when you go quiet, you have good control over narrative. You don't have to tell what you're doing. And that is what the Rothschild family is aiming to do. And there is a hidden advantage because of this. Nobody is looking at what you're doing. Nobody knows where you are putting your money. In fact, Soros was exactly that. They put money under Soros, and he was the face of all these things about open borders and new world order and so on and so forth. And when the blowback comes, he is getting it and not the Crown Council. So why did they do this? Well, they found a significant drop in global merger and acquisitions activity and also falling valuations for companies. If you take the Magnificent Seven stocks, that is the Apple, Google, Tesla, and NVIDIA, and so on and so forth, if you set them aside and you look at the other company valuations, the brick and mortar companies, they are called, like the Procter and Gamble or General Foods and things like that, the valuations have been falling. So, and these are good stocks. They even give dividends. So what they want to do is they want to wait out until there is a correction in the market, because when the market corrects, even the good companies will get hit. And that's when these companies will be good for a pickup. So this strategic timing is positioning them for the largest wealth transfer in history, because we are talking not millions, but perhaps trillions. The three main business activities that reveal their strategy is in global advisory, merchant banking, and wealth management, all of which benefited from privacy. Now, what did they do? They structured a deal whereby the Rothschilds purchased 45% of a company at euro 48 each. Now, they built a coalition with billionaire families such as Dassault, Pugo, and so on and so forth, but they retained majority control. The move wasn't about hiding wealth, but about multiplying it. Shifted focus to patient capital, strategic alliances, and private power. The move came 3 months after Evelyn de Rothschild, former head of the British banking arm, passed away at the age of 91. The Rothschilds learned that true power lies in quiet strategic building rather than public visibility. They prioritized freedom to shape the future of global finance, seeing 2023 as a pivotal year, 2 years after COVID, for example. Now, in a world that is chasing instant gratification, one day I'm going to tell you about this new concept in US that is really, really bad, which is called buy now, pay later. For example, if you're buying an airline ticket, $129, you can opt to pay it in 4 installments. Airline ticket. Unbelievable. You go for dinner and you pay $100, you can choose to pay it in 4 installments. Of course, there'll be an interest factor too. This is called buy now, pay later. And this is a disastrous thing for the US economy. Just wait and see when it is going to explode. So the value of long-term vision and silent power moves is going to really help them multiply their wealth. They position themselves to influence the next century of global finance, while others remain distracted by short-term goals. So this is the Rothschild family for you. I'm sure I'm giving them a left-handed compliment, but it's a compliment nevertheless. They're very shrewd people. In fact, it is believed that Amartya Sen has married into this family. So he could be one of the members of the deep state. But Modi, of course, showed him the door in Nalanda University, and who knows who else is still in deep state and who's still having significant power and control over what is happening in India. Thanks for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to click on the bell button for notifications. Namaskar.